Your Excellency, Mr. Yusuf Kala, co-moderator, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Malaysia believes in the achievement of sustainable development goal. But between believing in it and achieving it, of course, we know it's not an easy matter. There are many goals to be achieved before we can say that we have reached the goal of becoming sustainably developed. But Malaysia has, from the very beginning of its independence, decided to plan for its future. We began with the 5-year plans. And of course, the 5-year plans were designed in accordance with our own ability to achieve the objectives. We know our assets, we know our weaknesses, and we know that we can achieve certain things if we do things right. And it is in this that Malaysia places its faith in its future. And indeed, we have actually achieved quite a bit of the goals that we have set for ourselves. Now, among the goals, of course, was the eradication of poverty. This is a very important thing. We need to eradicate poverty. But the state of the economy is not static. Over time, the economy grows. And what was regarded as above the poverty line becomes below the poverty line after a period of years have passed. That is because the economy grows. And in a bigger economy where more people are able to earn more, if we use the old poverty line, we will find that everybody is now above the poverty line, and therefore we have eradicated poverty. But in actual fact, because of high cost of living and other factors, although we have reached above the poverty line as determined at the beginning, now the poverty level is actually much higher than the original poverty line that we drew. And when we decide to change the poverty line, then of course we find that there are still a lot of people below the new poverty line. And so it goes on for years and years as the country grows, as the country develops and becomes richer, the poverty line also reaches a higher level, and we still have poverty in our country. I doubt whether it is actually possible to eradicate poverty totally, but we will try. There are other things that we have to focus on. We have today our concern for our environment. We have to keep our environment clean. But as the population grows, the amount of waste produced by the bigger population is normally much more than it was before. As the population grows, we have to spend more money trying to treat the waste that we produce more and more as the time goes by. It is unfortunate that some other countries are helping us increase our waste. They have sent some of their waste to our country. We suddenly discover that the containers supposed to be full of plastic material were actually waste material. And we have a problem now of trying to get rid of this extra waste. It is hope that we look after our own waste and not send them to other countries. It's grossly unfair for some rich countries, for example, to send their waste to poor countries because it costs us a lot of money to get rid of the waste that is sent to our country. But we ourselves are producing waste, and trying to get rid of the waste becomes very difficult now because there are plastics, and plastics does not degenerate. It does not disappear. It does not dissolve. It remains the same plastic thing even after years and years. You cannot dispose of the plastic by burning because it causes noxious gas to be passed out. And this is dangerous to health and the environment. We cannot throw them into the sea because we now discover that turtles are killing themselves eating plastic sheets. This is a problem that we have to face. And we hope that some scientists might work out some way of destroying plastics. A lot of money needs to be spent on devising ways and means of getting rid of plastics. The others can be recycled. Metal, for example, can be recycled. But as we grow bigger and bigger and also richer and richer, we produce more waste than ever before. And treating waste, of course, is something that not con- will leave us still unable to fulfill our desire to have sustainable development. So this is going to be with us for a long time. Our environment, of course, must be looked after, and we are trying our best not to cut down trees. Malaysia at the meeting in Rio de Janeiro promised that the whole country must be at least 50% covered by natural forests. And this we have done. We now have 53%, 53 to 55% of the land covered by natural forests. And we intend to keep this. Although we have to derive some benefit or some profit from our forests, but we will be very careful that we will not cause the forest to diminish to an extent that will be bad for our country and, of course, for the rest of the world. For the world expects us to absorb all the carbon dioxide that is produced, to be absorbed by the forests in Malaysia and elsewhere. We'll try to sustain our forests for as long as possible because we feel that this is something that is sustainable and that will help the quality of life of the people in Malaysia. Nevertheless, we will need land over time for human settlement. We cannot say that we should keep people from living in good houses simply because we have no more space for them. So Malaysia today is building high-rise buildings, more high-rise buildings, so that on a per square meter basis, there would be more people able to live and sustain themselves. This is also another way of sustainable development. In the past, of course, we used to cut down the forest in order to build to build single-storied houses. But now we are building high-rise houses. The highest one that we are building at the moment is 118 floors. And I think that will help us reduce the need for us to clear the forest in order for our people to find living space. But there are other things that is happening, of course, which we have to look after. The supply of food, for example, again needs more land. If we don't have land, we cannot grow all the rice and the other crops that we need for the people, for their needs. But what we have done, of course, is to adopt modern farming in which we grow vegetable not only on the land but also on tiers of uh, buildings, many tiers of building, and they are grown in pots so that they don't occupy too much space. We can build many stories. I'm told that in some countries they have already uh, grown in on 70 stories high building to produce vegetable and other edible plants for their consumption. So again, we are doing this in order to sustain our environment and uh, and also provide our people with food. There are many other things that we can do, and of course, we don't want to pollute the air around us. We are working on having electric cars and maybe hybrid cars first before electric cars. And in that way, we will stop polluting the air with the exhaust from our petrol driven cars. There are really many things that Malaysia can do. And in all our plans, we take into consideration the need for sustainable development. And to a certain extent, we have already achieved this, but we need to do a lot more before we can complete all the 17 areas that we have to focus on in order to achieve the goal of the development being sustainable. But definitely Malaysia must develop. Our people needs development. And of course, they need, for example, good infrastructure. Good infrastructure sometimes needs to will cause some loss in terms of land uh, and the environment, even the forest, because we need to build lakes, dams, etc. And this will force us to cut down some trees or maybe drown some trees so that we can have sufficient water for our people. With regard to electricity, we are, of course, ensuring that the generation of electricity does not pollute the air. Currently, of course, we have a four fuel policy, that of using fuel oil, coal, gas, and water. But we avoid using nuclear power. We don't think we know enough about nuclear material at this point in time. We know how to activate material, uranium or whatever, but having activated this material, we do not know how to reverse the process so that they become harmless. All nuclear material over time will be wasted, but not totally. And the waste has to be dealt with. We cannot easily dispose of the waste. We can, to a certain extent, reverse the process, but mostly we have to find other ways of disposing of the waste. Namely, we need to uh, bury them in safe places deep enough so that the radiation, which can go on for a million years, the radiation will not affect the health of our people. We had one experience which was very bad, and that was when uh, we converted the byproduct of tin mining, a material, black material called amang, and that is activated in order to be used as for color TV. But later on, it was found that color TV can be produced with LED light, etc. So they stopped using this material. But this material had already been activated. It is radioactive. So what do we do with the leftover radioactive material? We had a tough time negotiating with a company which produced this radioactive material. And eventually we had to reserve a piece of land, 1 square kilometers big, and bury deep into the ground, covered with lots of cement in order to prevent radiation. That's the cost of using nuclear material. I really do not think that we know enough about nuclear material at this point in time. We know how to use, how to activate, we know how to use, but then we don't know how to deactivate the nuclear material. But, Mr. Moderator, Malaysia will try its best to achieve a sustainable goal, although we have a need to do certain things which may cause a lot of problems for the environment, but we will try our very best to achieve the goal as set out by this paper on sustainable development. I thank you.
Thank you, sir.